Yes, I'm here. Just to inform the members here that Rahul will be conducting the sessions for the next 2 or possibly 3 weekends for us. He is preparing some materials just to go over the laws in preparation for the Cricket Canada um, sessions and exams scheduled for March. We have tentatively come up with a date for March 16th and 23rd, right, Rahul, if I may correct?
Yes, yes.
These are the proposal. Cricket Canada had asked Navneet, who unfortunately is away with his partner for a weekend. But Cricket Canada has been liaison with Navneet to come up with a date. So we had a meeting and discussed that possibly the 15th, 16th, and 23rd for the Cricket Canada sessions, and then April 13th will be the exam for Cricket Canada. These sessions that we're having is our own initiative in terms of getting members acquainted with and prepared for the sessions with Cricket Canada, because to go through 42 laws in 2 4-hour sessions is going to take a lot. So we are trying to get our members up to date, and we implore members to do their own reading and get acquainted with the laws so that when you come to the sessions, you can ask questions that you're not sure about. So these are the reasons for having these sessions, and Rahul has volunteered to post a session. So any questions you have, you can put it there. Rahul will join us, and we'll answer your questions. If it's not, we'll cooperate together to answer your question as best as possible. So Rahul, it's time now. I think we can start and get the members ready for exam.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Roach. Thank you, everyone, for turning up. Yeah, I know the India-Pakistanis game is happening, and you guys probably were watching, but we really appreciate your attendance here. There are some things. I'm going to mute you all right now, and at the end of this, we'll try to cover as many laws. My target is to cover 1 through 16, but we'll see where we end up based on the time we have. And so at the end, we'll probably have discussion about like your readings that you have prepared, plus any other questions that you guys may have about like all these laws that we covered. And yeah, so I'm going to mute you all and then start with the session. And if you have any questions, write them down. And when we open the floor for discussion at the end, we'll take those questions and try to answer as many as possible. Okay. Okay, so let me quickly share my screen. I have like some slides prepared, which I'm going to share. 1 second. So I hope everyone can see my screen. And okay, so can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, so as I mentioned, like these are Cricket Quebec umpire training sessions. These are our own efforts to bring you up to date with the laws before the actual Cricket Canada mock session starts, and we'll tell you like when they are and when the exams are going to be. My name is Rahul Lal. I think most of the Montreal folks knows me, but the MCA folks may not. So I did my level 1 umpiring credentials in the US, and I also did my level 2 there, but it was like a long time back. So when I came to Canada last year, I found Cricket Quebec Umpires Association, and then got in touch and wrote my level 2 exam in Canada, in Montreal last year. So I cleared that exam in April of 2024. I have also put in my email here just for everyone's reference, in case if you have any other questions apart from the laws that we have covered. I'm more than happy to feel free to write me an email. More than happy to respond to you that way. Okay, so let's start. So before we start, like some important dates for Cricket Canada umpiring exams and the training workshop that are going to happen. So the first one is, I hope everybody can take a note of April 13th is when the Cricket Canada has announced like their exams are going to happen. So all level one, level two, level three exams are planned on this date. So we'll have like these exams in Montreal, just like last year. Uh, and the training workshops are scheduled for March 16 and 23rd. This is where Mr. Rohan Shah from Cricket Canada is planning to be here in Montreal, and he'll we're planning to have like a 4-hour workshop on these dates. So there would be a lot of information in crammed in those 4-hour sessions in these 2 weekends, but that's why we started these training sessions. We have only 3 weekends from today till 16th. So today is the first session, March 2nd would be the second, and March 9th would be the third. So we're trying to complete all these 40 laws, 42 actually, within these 3 weekends. So I myself, Navneet and Deepak would take turns coming next weekends to cover as many laws as we can and make you guys prep for the actual exam that you're going to be writing. So the training session, how we plan to initiate this session was, so basically there are 6 modules and where the laws are assigned, and we're trying to complete the first 12, the setting up the game and innings and result 13 to 16, possibly by end of today. And the last 17 to 42, the over, scoring runs, dead ball extras, player substitute, runners, practice, appeals, dismissals, and unfair play. We'll try to conduct these in the next 2 weekends as much as we can. So we'll probably have longer sessions going forward. Instead of 2 hours today, we'll probably have like maybe 3 hours or a little more if everybody is willing to bear with us. So we'll try to complete them as much as possible. Okay, so just to start, like the spirit of cricket, this is like when you open the rule law book, the blue book. This is the first page that you'll probably encounter. Spirit of the game is very, very essential as umpires and as players that we play the game, right? So respect is the central part of the spirit of cricket. There are certain things that we need to enforce, and there are some code of conduct, players have to respect the captains, teammates, opponents, and authority of umpires. Um, Always play hard and fair. Accept the umpire's decision, even when you don't agree with them. Most of the time, players don't, but that's okay. Um Create a positive atmosphere by your own conduct and encourage others to do likewise. This is like a chain reaction that just makes like an enjoyable atmosphere to play this game that we all love. Show self-discipline even when uh, things go against you. That's very, very important, not just in cricket but also in life. After the game, no matter who wins or loses, right, we always congratulate the opposition on their successes. And if you guys win, enjoy those with your own team members. Always thank the official and opposition at the end of the match, whatever the result outcome would be. And this game, there's just like a lot of things this game teaches us: leadership, friendship, teamwork, which brings a lot of people from different nationalities, culture, religion. So and especially this all works in like hand in glove, especially when played within the spirit of the game. So this is like one of the video that I found on YouTube, which I would like to play just to demonstrate what spirit of cricket actually means. Bear with me with these 5-second ads. We all hate it, I know. 1 second, yes.
Hello, Steph.
Let me actually play it one more time from the start. So basically, what is happening in this video is like the bowler uh, disbalances the batsman while trying to retrieve the ball, and the batsman falls down. The throw is sent to the keeper, but the keeper decides not to break the wickets because it's just like a fairway, and the spirit of cricket, it's probably not right. So the keeper did that gesture, and the batsman was not out because the wickets were not broken. But in case if the wickets were broken and the fielding team appeals, this batsman would be out, run out. So these are the 5 slides that I prepared. Now I'm going to take you guys. I'll probably close this slides and then 1 second, and then I'm going to go to laws of cricket and okay. So I'm going to go to learning module, set up the game, and then we'll just go through laws 1 to 12 and we'll just breeze through these because some of these laws are very, very small, and we expect you to have all read all these first 16 laws because that's what we expected you to come prepared, and then we'll go through the questions later. So the law 1 is the players.
Rahul, there's no volume on my side. I can't hear anything.
Can you guys hear?
No. No, we can't.
Oh, none of you? Okay, maybe I'll 1 second. I don't know like what the issue is. Okay, I think we'll just skip this introduction because it's not important. I'll probably, yeah, I think I don't want to troubleshoot that audio thing now. Okay, so we'll just go to the laws. So basically, these are the laws. The law 1 is number of players. So it says a match is played between 2 sides, each of 11 players, and one of them shall be nominated as captain. We all know this bit. By agreement, a match may be played between 2 sides of fewer than or more than 11 players, but not more than 11 players may field at a time. So some games, there are like playing conditions where they can play with less number of people. That's allowed in the laws as well. And if during the match, for whatever reason, side is reduced to fewer than original number of nominated players, match shall continue as long as possible to do so under the laws or any agreement made before the toss. So like this probably comes under the playing conditions. We are mostly, the most take-home message here would be like played between 2 sides and 11 players. Nomination replacement players. Each captain shall nominate his players and writing to on the umpires before the toss, and no player may be replaced after the nomination without the consent of the opposing captain. So, just for an example, uh, if a captain nominates the player and one of the player after the toss, the player gets injured for some reason, the player can be replaced with another nominated player provided the opposing captain agrees and gives consent for that change to happen. And for the captain, if any time the captain is not available, a deputy shall act for him. This deputy should be a part of the nominated players. And if a captain is nominated, any person associated with the team may act as his or her deputy. So a person associated with that team could be anybody from the support staff or like a coach or somebody. At any time after the nomination of players, only a nominated player can act as deputy in discharging duties of a captain. So, for example, if the captain is not on the field, a nominated person only can make decisions and based on behalf of the captain, including at the toss. So, any part of the team member, any person of the team or club can nominate players, but for the toss, either a captain or a nominated player has to show up for the toss. A coach or a support staff cannot come to the toss to get this part bit done. Responsibility of captains are always at times to ensure that play is conducted within the spirit of the game as well as within the laws. Mostly the laws are responsibility of the umpires, but captains are responsible to maintain the spirit of the game. And we'll talk about fair and unfair play and what responsibilities of captains are when we cover Law 42. So these are just like some nice modules. Number of players, 11, as we all agreed. These are the team sheets that captains normally share with each other about the playing members. Next would be replacement player. Yeah, as we covered, nominated player for whatever reason cannot take part. A replacement player will be allowed with the opposing captain's consent. Captain's responsibility we already covered. This is just more like in detail as compared to the law that we read verbatim. So this, I think we'll just like skip all the videos because the audio. So these are some reflective questions. I'm just gonna read them. So for law 1, the question first is: the captain of the visiting side is arriving late. Who can deputize for him, her at the toss? So as we discussed, for the toss, only a captain or a nominated player can come, not anybody from the member, anybody from the club. So a nominated player would be the right answer, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, there you go.
Rahul, we should give the chance to others to answer, and then you can explain
Okay,
after.
so let's actually start picking up volunteers. Like
Oh, no,
people
you
can
can,
unmute.
yeah, maybe, or you can just ask, ask everyone at one point, or
Okay, so one second. So I'm just gonna ask like people's name, and then please unmute your microphone and just answer these questions. So Sajid, are you here?
Rahul, before you go, I have a question. You know, we're not living in an ideal world. We're living in Montreal, and injuries are very common. For example, if we nominate 12 players, one with a substitute, and in the match going on, we have three injuries. So what are we gonna play with nine players because we have only one substitute, or we can ask the other teammates who are already there in the ground?
So Awais, please hold on to your questions at the end because we'll
Okay,
we'll have to
sure, sure,
cover these laws because in the interest of time, and I'm just gonna breeze through these laws and give you information, and then at the end we'll discuss these
no
questions.
problem, no problem. Thanks, thanks.
Yeah. So Awais, like since you are unmuted, just answer this question. A fielder is injured in the first over of the match and is not able to continue. Who gives consent for a replacement player for this nominated player? A, the umpires, captain, or no consent is needed?
I think it should be captains. The umpires and the captains.
Okay, so we'll just write opposing captain, which is correct. Okay, so that's all up with law 1. Law 2 is
Rahul,
umpire. Yep.
Rahul, may I interject here? As the answer, you said
two
that the
things.
captains have the right to make the change. Just to make it clear, guys, that the umpires have nothing to do with captains agreeing on replacement players. Um, right, Rahul? Umpire. This is an agreement between both
Yeah,
captains, right?
So
right.
it's
So
like a mutual understanding between the two captains, right?
Yeah, it's a meeting with both captains and inform the umpire of the change.
Just the
Perfect,
captains.
yeah, just the
perfect.
captain, just the
The umpire
captain, the
cannot make a decision in that case. Who?
yeah, umpire have no say in this. In case if the umpires will take the captain with an injured player will come to the umpires we will get in touch with the other captain, and then if the other captain agrees, then that change is possible, otherwise not.
Otherwise, it's only be a substitute who's gonna fail. That's it.
Yeah,
Otherwise you play, yeah,
with a
exactly.
substitute. If the umpire seems that the injury was took place on the field, then the umpire can. In the law, it says substitutes are allowed, but in ICC playing condition, you don't allow substitutes. So it's a matter of a difference there.
It's like a
When we
scenario
go
where
through
you
the
get that.
laws, we will see. When we go through the various laws, we will see. But the laws are there, but then ICC playing condition differs somewhat from the law in some cases. But when we
Got
go through the laws, we will all see.
got it. Perfect.
Okay. All right. And if you're not speaking, please unmute your microphones. Thank you. All right. So we go next to law number 2, which is the umpires. Okay. So law 2, the umpires. The first one is appointment and attendance. So before the match, 2 umpires shall be appointed, one for each end to control the game as required by the laws with absolute impartiality. And the umpire shall be present on the ground and report to the executive of the ground at least 45 minutes before the scheduled start of day's play. 45 minutes is what the MCC laws recommend, because umpires have a lot of duties before the game starts. But in televised games, we have third umpires and fourth umpires, so they have certain duties as well. We'll discuss those later. Can change of umpire be possible during a game? Yes, an umpire shall not be changed during the match, but there are certain circumstances when it can be, unless if he or she is injured or ill. So if an umpire is injured or ill, a change can be possible. But if there has to be a change of umpire, the replacement umpire usually only act as a striker's end umpire. So as in normal cricket verbiage, we talk about leg umpire or square leg umpire. Unless the captains both agree that the replacement umpire is qualified enough to take full responsibility as an umpire, then that umpire can take the role of a full umpire's duties as well on the field. Consultation with captains. So before the toss, the umpire have to do a lot of things. The first thing would be to meet the captains. The umpire shall determine the balls to be used during the match. Mostly the balls to be used to be during the match would be something that the governing body or the federation that those games are covered under would take care of. The hours of play, so times and duration of agreed intervals, like drinks intervals plus in between innings intervals. In a match of one day duration, no specific time needs to be agreed for the tea interval, because there's no tea interval in a one-day match. It may be agreed instead to, yeah. So we'll talk about intervals when we talk about law 11 in detail. The umpires also need to determine which clock or timepiece that they are using to keep track of the game. Sometime in international games, there is a clock tower in the stadium. Mostly that is the time that everybody keeps, the scorers, the umpires as well. But if that is not available in our playing condition games or like your local club games, then every umpire should have like a watch which they can sync up with their partner and then conduct the game accordingly. 2314 is like the boundaries of field of play and allowances for boundaries also needs to be determined before the game with the captains. And if there are any obstacles within the field of play to be if that has to be regarded as boundary, or whether in play, that needs to be established as well. I remember like here in Montreal, we have certain grounds where there are cages in the field of play. So though, what if the ball hits the cages, what kind of allowances are there, or what kind of agreement there has to be established before the game starts. Also, the use of covers, will cover this in law 10, and any other special conditions. So anything related to the game that has to be determined with the captains. And any agreement with the captains also have to be informed to the scorers, because they are the ones keeping track of the score. So when things happen, especially something hits the obstacle which is in play, they need to know how many runs are going to be scored. The wicket, creases, and boundaries. So before the toss, an umpire has to satisfy themselves with, like, if all the wickets are properly pitched, there are like certain dimensions or how high the wickets should be from the ground. We'll cover that in Law 8. If the creases are correctly marked, so popping crease, bowling creases, return creases, all have certain dimensions. We'll cover those in Law 7. Boundary of the field complies within the requirements. So we'll discuss all these as well. Conduct of the match. So umpires have to come in early to take care of all these duties. Conduct of the match. Before the toss, during the match, umpire shall satisfy that the conduct of match is within the laws of the game. And the game includes balls and other visible requirements like bat and bails. All has to conform to the requirements as laid out. We'll discuss, like in Law 5 and Law 8, about what the height of the stump should be, the bails, what the specifications of the bat, what's the weight of the balls should be, all of that in those laws when we cover. Wicket keeper gloves also have to be comply with the requirements of the Law 27. We'll cover that when we get there. Fair and unfair play. Who are the judges of that? So each team are playing the game of cricket, and they have their own vested interest. Umpires are the only neutral people on the field of play, and they shall be the sole judges of fair and unfair play, even if the captains do not agree, or any of the playing members. So that's very important. Fitness for play. So whether the ground is fit to play or not, that is also like the sole responsibility of the umpires, and they are solely for the umpires together to decide whether either conditions of ground, weather, light, or exceptional circumstances. So here, ground, weather, light is all within the umpire's jurisdiction and they are the only ones who can determine whether the ground is dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. So what is dangerous conditions and what are unreasonable? We'll discuss this. So conditions shall not be regarded as either dangerous or unreasonable merely because they are not ideal. So sometimes when the game starts, there's a lot of dew on the ground. It's not ideal condition, it's not a dry ground, but that just doesn't mean that they are dangerous or unreasonable. So umpires have to be aware and have to take that into account. And so just that the grass and ball are wet does not warrant ground conditions being regarded as unreasonable. So that is what we covered. Conditions when they can be dangerous: if there is an actual and foreseeable risk to the safety of any player or the umpire. So if there is a safety risk, then definitely those come under dangerous conditions, and umpires should act accordingly. And there are laws give them that information as well. So, and conditions that are regarded as unreasonable. So there are certain situations like where there is no risk to safety, but it would just not be sensible for play to proceed. So for one example that comes to my mind is like a sandstorm. Sometimes I remember during my childhood, there was a sandstorm in a game in Sharjah. So those are unreasonable conditions where play can be stopped. And if the umpire considers the ground so wet or slippery as to deprive. So there are certain conditions where for bowlers, batters, and fielders, there are dangerous conditions. So for bowler, if there is a deprivation for the bowler of a reasonable foothold when he lands during his delivery stride. For fielders, if there is a lack of free movement, and for the batsman, the ability to play their strokes and run between wickets. If these conditions are are so bad that it would be dangerous and unreasonable for play to take place, then the game should be stopped. And only umpires are supposed to make these determinations. 2.8 suspension of play in dangerous, unreasonable circumstances. So here the umpire shall suspend play immediately or not allow play to start or recommence. This would be after interruption. If either umpire consider that the ground conditions, like ground conditions, weather or light, or any other circumstances are either dangerous or unreasonable. So we covered what situations are dangerous and which ones are unreasonable. Um, when there is a suspension of play, it is responsibility of the umpires to monitor the conditions. So umpires are supposed to make frequent inspections as appropriate, accompanied by any players, unaccompanied by any player. So a lot of times captains may captains or coaches might come and want to be a part of that inspections, but umpires just need to tell them that no, let us do our job, and they only umpires are supposed to make that determinations of when play can resume or not, or whether the conditions have improved or not. Um, Immediately, the umpires together agreed that the conditions are no longer dangerous. They shall call the captains. They shall call upon the players to resume. So once the umpires determine that the conditions are not dangerous or unreasonable, play can resume. Position of umpires. So where does an umpire usually stand, right? Uh, so umpires should always stand where they can best see any act upon which their decisions may be required. So usually a bowlers and umpire stands behind the wickets, but they shouldn't stand like too behind, because they should be able to see the popping crease, because they are supposed to make determinations of whether it's a fair delivery or not. A striker and umpire can stand as far as 25 to 26 yards, just before the 30 yards, where he or she can see the popping crease. Um, Subject to overriding considerations, so the bowlers and umpire shall stand in a position so not to interfere with the bowler's run-up or the striker's view. So umpires should stand at like a position where they can see the popping crease, especially the bowlers and umpire, and shouldn't block any striker's view. The striker umpire can stand, as I mentioned, like before the 30-yard circle, like 25 to 26 yards is ideal to see the popping crease. Umpire changing ends. So usually umpires are not allowed to change ends in a single innings match, but in an so umpire shall change end only when each side has completed one inning. So usually this happens when in a test match with two innings each. In the second innings, the umpire can change sides, but in a single inning games like a one-day international or a T20, wherever the umpires end up standing, they'll stand there for the whole game. Disagreements and disputes, whether there are any disagreement dispute, umpire shall make the final decision. Law 31.6 talks about what an umpire's consultation could be, and we'll discuss those when we get there. Umpire's decision. Umpire may alter any decision provided that such alterations are made promptly. Apart from this, once an umpire makes a decision, it's final. So you have to be very careful when you make a decision based on the laws. Has to be correct. Some signals about these are some signals about dead ball, no ball. We'll talk about that in the module. It's much better. Level 3, level 4 signals are also a part of that module, which I'll get to in a second. Informing the umpires. Oh, okay. One more thing. The umpire shall wait until each signal to the scorers has been separately acknowledged by the scorers. So sometimes umpires have to make two or three signals to the scorers, and every signal has to get like a separate acknowledgement. So if a no ball is hits the batter's pad and goes to the boundary, then the umpire has to call a no ball, and it has to call a leg by and then a boundary signal as well. So there are three different signals and has to get three separate acknowledgements from the scorers as well. And if several signals are to be used, they should be given in the order that the events have occurred. So the first would be a no ball, then it would be a leg by, then boundary. So in the events that occurs. Informing the umpires. So wherever the umpires has to receive information from captains, if captains have to tell them about like an injury or some player going out of the field, it is sufficient just for one umpire to be informed. Don't have to inform each umpire, because if you inform one umpire, that umpire should inform the other umpire about that kind of information. Correctness of score. So usually umpires do not keep track of scores, but whether the scores are correct or not is very, very important, because that determines the results of the game. So umpires should always check with the scorers at every interval, except the drinks interval, because the drinks interval is such a small interval. But at the end of the innings, umpire should always go and double check with the scorers and communicate the target or whatever changes that needs to be required to the other captain as well before the other inning starts. So now we go into the module. So module talks about umpires have to come at the ground 45 minutes before. They have to check whether the wickets are pitched properly, whether there are any side screen boundaries. All these determinations umpire have to make before the game. So all these things are also a part of the balls, as we talked about: boundaries, hours, timing intervals, and use of covers on any special regulations the game has. All these comes under umpire's duties. That's why we get there before the game starts. Yeah, so once the game has started, umpires are responsible that ensuring that the balls, bats, everything conform to the laws. This is also we covered before. Changing of umpire we talked about. Okay, so this actually gives you good insights about where the umpire should stand. So this is the bowler's end umpire. This is where the striker end umpire stands. So ideally, they talk about like for bowler's end umpire should stand right behind the middle stump and 6 to 10 feet behind the stumps and in line with the two middle stumps, because this is ideal distance where you can probably see the popping crease and any no ball incidences that the bowler has. And the square leg umpire ideally supposed to be around 22 to 26, but sometimes make like your own determination, because sometimes there is a fielder right in front of you or like right behind you, so you need to probably move a little bit behind, but that's fine. But as long as you can see the popping crease and any other decision that you might need to give based on that. So so as we mentioned, ground weather light is all sole responsibility of the umpires, and they can either determine whether dangerous or unreasonable conditions exist, where to suspend play or to resume play if those conditions do not exist anymore. And dangerous condition, as we talked about, risk safety to any player or umpire, that those conditions are considered dangerous. Unreasonable, we talked about like dust storm or like a animal intervention, where those kind of things kind of stops the game. There is a very interesting example in here which we'll see. Yeah, as I said, like anytime dangerous condition exists, a place is suspended immediately and not allowed to start until the conditions improve. So this is like a bull. So this is like a bull which came into the field of play. So these are unreasonable conditions as well. So until the bull has left the ground or just got controlled, play cannot happen. So this was another incident that happened in county cricket. So those could be like considered as unreasonable. Uh, all player, batsmen, bowlers need to have freedom of movement without fear of risk of to their safety. We covered that. Umpires will monitor conditions and play will resume when conditions improve. And both umpires must agree. So there is a saying that it takes only one umpire to come off a field, but takes two umpires to get on. So when conditions are bad, if one umpire decides that the condition is so bad that and other umpire may not agree, but if only one umpire decides whether we should leave and play should be suspended, it should be suspended. And while coming back, both umpires have to agree whether conditions have improved or not. And if they have improved, then the play can resume. So it takes one to come off, two to go in. That is the thing that you should remember. Disagreements, dispute, we covered this in the verbatim law as well. I want to get to the umpire signals. So there are some signals that umpire has to give when the ball is in play, and some signals when the ball is dead. Signals when ball is in play are no ball. So no ball doesn't mean that the ball is dead. Ball can still go out in the field. People can run wide. Same example. Dead ball and out signal as well. So these are all four decisions that you give when the ball is in play. But in any other decisions that are made when the ball is dead are to be made by the bowler's umpire. So all other decisions have to be given when the ball is dead, except that for and all signals will be communicated by the bowlers and umpire, except that for a short run, because short run can happen on the striker's end as well. But the striker and umpire is not the one who makes the decision. He makes that determination to the bowlers and umpire, and then the bowler and umpire makes that signal to the scorers, because short running can happen at both ends. So and another thing is the scorers are not watching the square leg umpire or the striker and umpire. They are only taking signals from the bowlers and umpire. So even if the short running happens on a different side than the bowlers and umpire, he is the one who makes that decision. Another thing. Okay, so does not, okay, as we said, like in these signals, ball is not dead, so the play can still happen. So this is a no ball signal, fairly straightforward, everybody knows. This is a white ball signal. This is a dead ball signal where you cross your hands below your waist. Out signal. So one very important thing in this signal is whenever you raise your finger, the finger has to be raised above your head, not in front, because that has like a significance. So it has to be raised above your head so that everybody in the field of play or even outside can see your signal and can deduce whether the batsman is out or not. Boundary force. Then one thing in this signal is it should start from the chest and should end at the chest as well. It cannot end here because that would the scorers might confuse that as like a no ball. So always start from the chest, ends at the chest as well. Boundary 6, fairly straightforward. A bye signal is just raising a palm on above your head. Leg bye is good practice is to go sideways because the scorers would be able to see what you're signaling. Revoking last signal, if you need to revoke your last signal, if it's done promptly, it's allowed. And you can do that with crossing your arms and touching your opposite shoulders with hands. Short run is where you tap your shoulder with one hand. And commencement of last hour, we'll talk about this in detail. For level 1, last hour is not important, but level 2 will have like a separate session with law 41 and 42 and other things with last hour. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. I remember this signal because batting rhymes with tapping, right? So tapping of the shoulders is 5 penalty runs to the batting side, and 5 penalty runs to the fielding side, just like touching the shoulder with your palm. New ball, you have to make this when in test matches when you take the new ball after 80 overs. Level 3 code of conduct, these are the signals. You don't have to remember these signals for level 1. These are covered in law 41 and 42. uh, and level 4 breach is this signal. This is just important for level 2 aspirants and people who are willing to write these exams, so these signals will come in handy to know. So that's all signals. Okay, as I said, if there are multiple signals that still needs to be made, it needs to be made in the event that has occurred, and every signal has to be acknowledged separately as well from the scorers. So I'll explain this video in a bit. So what happened in this video was the striker and umpire thought that the ball was a wide, but the bowlers and umpire gave a signal of wide, but the striker and umpire signals to the umpire, bowlers and umpire, that the ball hit the pad. So he revoked his decision and he negated the call of wide ball. So he can do that. So that's what this video was talking about. Informing the umpires, we already covered that. Correctness of scorer, we covered that when we covered the law. So we'll go to law of reflective question. Any volunteer? Which of these signals is made by an umpire while the ball is in play? Hossan, your video is on. Can you answer this question? Unmute your microphone. Hassan, Torab, can you hear me? No? Any other volunteer? Manas.
Vishal was about to go. I think you can go with Vishal.
No ball.
Okay, which of these signals made by umpire while the ball is in play? No ball is the answer. Okay, good job. By law, which of the following is a complete list of signals that require the umpire to raise at least part of her hand above her head? So there are 4 options: boundary 6 boundary 6 out, no new ball, and new ball and leg by. Any volunteer?
Option C.
Option C, boundary 6 out, no
D,
new
actually.
ball. Option D has a leg by, so for leg by you don't raise your hand above your head, right? So that is what it asked. So I think option C was the one. Yes, that's correct. Okay, next question. While play is in progress, it's raining steadily. Light is less good than when the match started. Both umpires think the condition have become dangerous, but both captains wants to continue. This happens a lot. Captains wants to continue, but umpires had the condition to be dangerous. What should the umpires do? Suspend play immediately, continue to play, or tell the captain that we will discuss the conditions with them in another few minutes. Harsh, unmute your microphone and answer, please.
Yeah, can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. That they will tell the captains and they will discuss, but ideally it should be suspended as well because if the conditions are not right to play.
Yeah,
So,
so you cannot do two things, right? You cannot do the captains, tell the captains, because here once the umpires have make a determination that the conditions are dangerous, no matter what the captains think, the umpire have made that determination. Play should be suspended immediately in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's end of law 2. Law 3, scorers, which is very short law. 1 second. So, okay, law 3, appointment of scorers. So there are ideally should be 2 scorers appointed, and they should be sitting together. They should record all runs scored, all wickets taken, and number of overs bowled. The scorer shall frequently check to ensure that the records agree, because both are counting at the same time, but they're taking 2 separate scores as well. So each of them are having a record. They should keep communicating with each other. They shall agree with the umpires at least at every interval. As I mentioned, not at the drinks interval, but every interval. They should inform, and the umpire should also make that effort to check what the scores are. And at the conclusion of the game, the run scored, the wicket that has fallen, and the number of over bowls. These are all responsibility of the scorers. And other responsibility are to acknowledge the signals by the umpires. So the scorer shall accept all instruction signals given to them by the umpires and shall immediately acknowledge each separate signal. So that's law 3. These are modules which are very fairly straightforward. Law 3 reflective question is what specific items of the score must the umpires agree with the scorers at every interval? So what should you check with the scorers at every interval? Runs and overs bowled, runs, wicket, and which batsman is on strike, runs, wicket, and where appropriate, overs bowled. So any
Rahul,
volunteer?
it's Sajid. I apologize. You called out my name earlier, and I was talking into the microphone, but my microphone was still muted. So just
Oh, okay.
an addendum to everybody. Like I'm following another screen on my computer. So picture in picture, you actually have to go to the lower picture and unmute yourself to be unmuted. Otherwise, you'll be talking on mute like a fool myself. So apologies for earlier.
No
So
worries,
this
Sajid.
question,
Yeah, go ahead,
this
answer this
question I
one.
think is C, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, let's see. There you go. That's the correct answer. Thank you, Sajid. Appreciate it. Next question is the umpire signals no ball followed by a bye followed by a boundary 4. How many times must the scorer acknowledge the umpire signals? Once, uh, after umpire has made all 3 signals, 3 times, once for each signal, and 4 times, once for each signal, and a final acknowledgement. Any takers for this question? Gohar.
I'll go with B.
B 3 times. Let's see if you're correct. There you go. You learned something today. Thank you. Okay, law 3 was pretty short. We go to law 4, which is the ball. Law 4 ball. So there are certain dimensions that the cricket ball has to be within, and these are the weight. So the ball, when new, shall weigh not less than 5.5 ounces and 155.9 grams, and no more than 163 grams or 5.75 ounces. And the circumference should not be less than 8.81 inches and 9 inches. So circumference is like around the circle of the ball, right? The perimeter, basically. So ball should not be less than 155.9, should not be more than 163 for 63 grams. If it is within this range, it's okay. If it is less than the 155.9, the ball needs to be have to have minimum of that. If it's more than this, it would be too heavy. If it is less than this, it would be too light to be in this range. Approval control of the balls, usually these are done by the governing body that the game comes under, but all balls to be used in the match having been determined by the umpire shall be in possession of umpires. So once the fielding team have selected their balls, like they give the balls to the umpires, and then the umpires would probably keep them in their possessions throughout the game. The umpires will take possession of the ball in use at the fall of each wicket. So in a game, at the fall of each wicket, people are busy celebrating. Umpire should always take care of the ball. So always collect the ball before at the fall of wicket, at the start of any interval. So if the game is concluded, or if there is a break in between, at any interval, the ball should be with the umpires. And any interruption of play also, umpire should collect the ball. New ball, uh, unless an agreement has been made before the match, either captain may demand a new ball, which is usually the case. We start new innings with a new ball. New ball in a match of more than one duration. So, especially like in a test match, there could be situations where in an innings there could be more than two new balls, one at the start of the session and one after 80 overs. So this is where there could be a situation where two new balls are used. A ball lost or becoming unfit to play. If during the play, if the ball cannot be found or recovered, or the umpires agree that it has become unfit for play through normal use, the replacement should be done with a ball which has a wear comparable with that of the previous ball. It cannot be a new ball. It cannot be a very, very old ball. It has to be a comparable wear and tear for replacement ball to happen. And when the ball is replaced, the umpire shall inform the batsman and the fielding captain. And during this change, it's only the umpires have to make the determination, and without the inputs of any of the fielding team or batters or captains. Only umpires have to make that determination. Specification of cricket balls for women cricket and junior cricket are also different. So the men's cricket balls are a little bigger as compared to the cricket balls used in women's cricket and in juniors cricket. So these are certain numbers. You can read them at your own leisure later. So law 4, these are certain more information. Just this information is more in detail about what the law actually says. So we covered all of that. So we go to reflective question for law 4. So when must the umpires and captain approve the balls which are to be used during the game? Before the toss, before the players take the field, or before the first call of play? Remember, the captains have to approve the ball. So when that determination happens, any volunteer?
No, before the toss. I could be wrong.
Before the toss, yes, you are correct. Before the toss, you have to collect the balls, and because once the toss is made, the game is ready to start, right? So that's the correct answer.
Rahul, I just had something. I see Harsh and Gohar have raised their hands. I'm not sure if they had any questions or they just forgot to.
No, Sajid
Harsh
will
took
take
it
those.
down.
Yeah, we'll take those questions at the end. So,
Thank you.
when is the umpire required to take possession of the ball which is being used? At the end of every over, or at the fall of wicket, at the fall of each wicket, and at the start of any interruption or interval, at the end of every over, and at the start of any interval or interruption. Anybody? Aves?
I think it's B.
Be at the fall of each wicket and at the start of interruption or interval? Yes, that's correct. Okay, so that's law 4. We go to law 5, which is bat. So just like the ball, bat also has certain guidelines that needs to be adhered. So we'll cover that. The bat should, so ideally the bat should consist of two parts, a handle and a blade, right? The handle has to be principally made of cane or wood. This law was changed because Dennis Lilly showed up with an aluminum bat in the 70s. So because that was kind of damaging the ball, so that's why the lawmakers made this change, that the bat has to be made principally of cane or wood. The part of the handle that is outside, wholly outside the blade, is defined as the upper portion. It's a stray shaft. We all know what the handle of the bat is. Uh, the blade. The blade shall solely be of wood, and that's the only identification of a cricket bat. Uh, Protection and repair. So there are protection and repair on the bats are possible as long as the protection from the surface. Um, so as long as they are not 1 second, like what is this, solely for the purposes of either protection. Yeah, protection is possible from the surface damage to the face, side and shoulder. So they you can see probably at times the batters would probably get like a edge broken, so they'll put like some tapes in there. Those things are allowed within the laws up to a certain limit. We'll talk about that later. uh, Damage to the ball. So damage to the ball for any part of the bat, covered or uncovered, right? So anything that you put on the bat, like any protective covers, the hardness of that shall not cause unacceptable damage to the ball. So umpires have to be mindful of that as well. So any material placed on any part of the bat for whatever purposes shall similarly not be such that it could cause unacceptable damage to the ball. And unacceptable damage is any change that is greater than the normal wear and tear. So you cannot show up with an aluminum bat and play, and because that would just cause very a lot of damage to the ball. Contact with the ball. So what does contact with the ball means? So in this law, the reference to the bat. So contact with the ball is talking about what constitute a contact between the ball and the bat, right? So contact with the bat shall imply that the bat is held in the batsman's hand or a glove worn on his hand, unless otherwise stated. So a contact with bat and ball can happen when the ball gets in contact with the bat itself, the batter's hand holding the bat. So if I'm holding the bat like this, if the bat is in my right hand and if it touches my glove, it's still a contact with the ball, contact of ball with the bat. Any part of the glove worn on the batsman hand holding the bat. So if while playing a shot, if for some reason my left hand is removed from the bat, and my right hand is holding the bat, if the ball gets in contact with any part of that right hand, it would be still deemed as a contact between bat and ball. And if there are any protective things on the bat, and if the ball touches that as well, and as long as the bat is in the hand, that would also constitute as like a ball making contact with the bat. Bat size limits. Yes, these are some of the bat size limits. The overall length of the bat shall not be more than 96.52 centimeter or 38 inches. The width, depth, and edges of the bats are listed here. 108 millimeters, 6.67 millimeters, and 40 millimeters. So these are some of the blades specifications that are allowed to play a game of cricket. The handle shall not exceed 52% of the overall length of the bat. This is something that is comes from the manufacturers directly. And any protective material that is placed on the bat, on the thickness, should not exceed more than 0.3 centimeters or 3 millimeters. I think the categories of the bat are not important. Specifications for the handle is, you can read these on your own time because these are fairly straightforward. Let me see what I want to cover. Toe side inserts, bat. Okay, so this is another bat gauge. So usually bat gauges are little bigger than the dimensions. So the depth of this bat gauge is 6.8 centimeters, and the bat specification was 6.7. So it should fit in this gauge to be deemed as like a valid bat to play. The edges are 4.1 centimeter and width is 11. So the bat size was 108, and edge was 4 centimeter, and curve. And so this bat edge should fit the bat that we saw in here. This bat dimension should fit in that bat gauge. So umpires, if they are suspecting that some bats are not as per specifications, umpires have these bat gauges that they can use to see whether the bat is legal or not. So these are some of the history, like these are the evolution of bats. It started like a hockey stick, and these are all evolutions of bats. And this is the modern day cricket bat that we see day in, day out. So uh, these are the protective things that batters put on their bats. So there are certain restrictions on those as well, as we discussed. Okay, so general rule, this is what a bat should look like. It should be made of wood, um, and it should be smooth such that it would not cause any unnecessary damage to the ball when it strikes. There should be nothing stuck or added to the bat that extends beyond its natural shape. Any repair that's done should be within the dimensions allowed. I think categories of bat, we don't need to go in this. Usually type A bat is what is used in modern day cricket. So type B, C, D, you guys can read at your own time. Bat size, we already covered that. Um, Yeah, so this is what I was explaining, what constitutes as a contact between ball and bat. So this is the hand, the left hand where the bat is. If the ball touches any part of the bat, the protective repair thing, or the glove, up or the glove will constitute as the ball making contact with the bat. If the ball hits this glove, which is not holding the bat, the batsman will, that doesn't constitute as the ball hitting the bat. So this we already covered. I think we can go to, oh, sorry, there are questions here. We missed the questions. Okay, there is another slide. So this is the maximum overall length of the bat, which we discussed, 96.53 centimeter. The maximum width is 4.2 inches or 10.8 centimeters, and this 52% is the handle requirement. We already talked about the bat gauge. So these are the dimensions of the bat gauge. Reflective question. Which of the following would not be considered as the ball striking or touching the bat? Contact between the ball and bat. So contact between the ball and any part of the glove worn on the batsman hand not holding the bat, a batsman hand holding the bat, or any part of the glove worn on the batsman hand holding the bat. Any volunteer for this answer?
I think you just gave away earlier on.
Yeah, so
So not
the
holding the bat, obviously.
yeah, not be considered would be like not holding the bat. That would be correct. Most of these questions are fairly straightforward. At its maximum width, ignoring any permitted covering, the width of the bat shall not exceed uh, what? 4 inches, 4.25 inches, and 4.5 inches. So this is the question is asking about width of the bat. So we just discussed about it. So any volunteers for this question?
It'd be a guess, total guess, honestly. We did discuss it, but I think it's B, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 10.8 centimeter, 108 millimeters, or 4.25 inches is the maximum width allowed for a bat in modern day cricket. So that would be correct. So law 5 is complete. Law 6, pitch. Let's see what this law okay entails. Area of pitch. Uh, I think for this, I'm going to go into the module rather than going into the law, because this would be more entertaining. Okay, so what does a normal cricket pitch look like, right? This is exactly what it looks like, and we play both sides, right? The pitch dimensions are 22 yards or 20.12 meters long. So this is from the where the stumps are pitched, from stumps to stump, it is 22 yards and 10 feet in width. So there is a dotted line joining the middle stumps, and it is 5 feet on both sides. So that is the area of the pitch. The creases are different. We'll talk about when we cover creases, but this is what the dimension of a cricket pitch look like: 22 yards by 10 feet. Before the match starts, the ground authority is usually responsible for the pitch, but after the toss takes place, the umpires take control. So if it's a 5-day game, the ground authority can do and if the game starts at 10 o'clock, toss is usually 30 minutes, 30 minutes to 15 minutes before the match. So there is a 15-minute window. So before 9:30, the ground authority is responsible for the pitch. Once the toss happens, umpires takes control of the pitch for the rest of the 5 days. So anything that happens on the pitch has to be done under the supervision of the umpires. Next is okay. So usually, sometimes there are like strips which are cut like a little bit more than 5 feet, but more than 5 feet either side of the middle stump. But that's okay as long as those markings are clearly made. So the dimensions that you need to remember is 22 yards by 5 feet. Umpires have a sole responsibility for judging the fitness of the pitch of the play, and sometimes some pitches are drop-in pitches. Sometimes they are not tested enough. They could be dangerous and unsuitable. If that is the case, umpire shall suspend the play if it's deems like a forcible risk to safety of the batsman playing the ball, because there could be abnormal bounces on those wickets. So when those conditions are deemed, play can be suspended. In extreme circumstances, the umpires will decide the play cannot continue. If this happens, okay. So there are certain times where play cannot happen on a certain strip of the pitch because it's dangerous. In those situations, there are multiple pitches on the sides, right? When we see sometimes like there are grounds with 10 pitch wickets. So with the additional consent of both captains, it can be agreed to change to a different pitch, but the captains have to agree in that situation. Some matches are played on artificial pitches, just like how we play in Montreal. Artificial step must conform to minimum measurements. Sometimes it's even bigger than that, but for this law, we need to remember 10 feet by 22 yards. This is a fairly simple law. Law 6 question. What is the width of the pitch? Here we're talking about the width, not the length. Somebody? Vipin?
I think it should be B, 10 feet.
Yes. B is the width is 10 feet. The length would be 22 yards, if that is the question. So B is the correct answer. When do the umpires become responsible for the use and maintenance of the pitch? On arrival at the ground, after the toss, or at the call of play? Anybody? Should be fairly straightforward. Hussain?
After the toss, sir.
After the toss is correct. So we go to law 7 now. Law 7 is the creases. So now we know the dimensions of what like a pitch look like. Now we'll see what the dimensions of creases. So I'm gonna skip this. Okay. Let me see if I want to go here. Okay. Mm, the creases. The position of a bowling crease, a popping crease, and two return creases shall be marked with white lines. The bowling crease is a back edge of the crease marking, is the line that marks the end of the pitch. Its bowling crease is usually 8 feet 8 inches or 2.64 meters in length. We'll look at a picture. It'll all make sense. The popping crease is 4 feet from the bowling crease, and it can be marked up to a minimum of 6 feet. And the return creases are usually 4 feet 4 inches from the popping crease. Uh, and the minimum of 8 feet has to be marked. So if I go to the next slide, we'll see the creases here. So basically, this is the popping crease. This is where the bowler lands his front foot. So this is called the popping crease. Usually 8 feet, 12 feet has to be marked, like 6 feet. But this is usually unlimited in length. So in case of there are sometimes previously there were runners involved, so sometimes these markings can be extended up to 30 yards, but ideally they are unlimited. This is the bowling crease where the stumps are pitched, and these vertical lines are called the return creases, which is where any encroachment on the return crease is a no ball. So these are the three creases that are used in a game of cricket. And as you can see, all these creases are inside lines, only with the exception of the bowling crease, because the bowling crease comes from the outside of this line because it is at where the middle stump is pitched. So the popping crease is usually 4 feet from this line till this line. From this bowling crease is 8 feet 8 inches, and the return creases are 8 feet, which are marked, but they are also unlimited in length, just like as the popping crease. We'll talk about, so this is what I mentioned, that outside of this crease to the inside of this is the bowling crease. This return crease from inside of this line to inside of this line is 8 feet 8 inches, and the popping crease where the bowler lands their foot, the front foot, is 12 feet, and it is 4 feet from the bowling crease. So 12 feet has to be marked minimum. It is unlimited in length, as we know, just like as the return crease. So questions on this module is, which part of the marked white line is the bowling crease? The back edge, the center of the line, the front edge. Let me go back. The question talks about bowling crease, right? So this is the bowling crease. This is the back edge of this line, and all the other lines are inside. That's the only thing that you need to remember. The only exception is the bowling crease. So we go back to the question one more time. I need a volunteer. Which part of the marked white line is the bowling crease? The back edge, center of the line, or the front edge?
I think you gave away the answer, Rahul.
Hey,
It's the back edge.
Okay, I'm probably okay. The back edge. Good to know. Okay, there you go. Okay, so which part of the marked white line is the return crease? The inside edge, the center of the line, or the outside edge? Any volunteer? Rana, are you still here? If not,
Hello?
anybody? Yeah,
Can you
go
hear me?
ahead. Yeah.
So the inside edge.
Okay, inside
Return
edge.
crease.
Yep, return crease is always inside, except the bowling, which is outside. That's good. Okay, we go to law number 8 now. The wickets. We mute this. We go to the next one. Okay, so let me see how much we need to cover. Okay, so the wickets. I think for wickets, we should probably just go to the, rather than reading the laws, you can read the laws on your own time, but let's go to the module where we talk about. So Usually, wickets constitute of 3 wooden stump and 2 bails. These 5 things make up a wicket. There are 2 sets, one on each side of the pitch, and they are pitched in the middle of the bowling creases, which is the back edge of the crease marking, as we just learned. Normally, the groundsman will already have created these holes for the stump. So normally groundsmen have these stump gauges which are already with the dimensions. So they'll put it on the bowling crease and just mark it, and then the stumps can be pitched. Uh, before, like in the maybe like few hundred years ago, the wickets were only consisted of the 2 stumps on the side and just the 2 bails. Then there was no middle stump. So that's why like the lawmakers ended up actually, if there is no middle stump, like sometimes when the bails are touching, these kind of scenarios can happen. So so we'll talk about whether this is actually wickets are broken or not, but we'll discuss that. But these kind of situations can happen in a game of cricket as well. We'll cover them in detail when we go through those. Uh, so ideally, wickets are pitched on both sides. These are dimensions of wickets. So the width of the wicket should be 9 inches from outside to outside. And then from the ground, they should be 28 inches above the ground, or the bowling crease, right? From the surface of the ground. They should be opposite and parallel. And this is where umpire stands behind these. So remember those. Nowadays, there are some playing conditions which also use like tethered bails, because in windy conditions, if the bails keep falling, then so there are provisions to remove the bails and play as well, or the use of heavy bails in heavy winds. But some playing conditions also allow these tethered bails, because these do not fall away, or most of the time wicket keepers get injured when the bails fly and strike them on the face or in the eye. Marked example, I know Mark Boucher of South Africa, the wicket keeper, he lost his eye when the bail flicked into his left eye. So in those kind of scenarios, we play with tethered bails as well. And as I mentioned, on windy days, the bails may be replaced with heavy set of bails, which are little heavier, so they can stay on the wickets little more likely and less likely to be blown off. If these are unavailable and are not remaining on the stumps, the umpires can decide that the bails can be dispensed with. But if you disperse one bails from one side, you have to disperse bail from both wickets, because you cannot play with just bails on one wicket and without bails on the other. And we will also determine in what conditions when the wicket is put down in those situations when bails are not used in Law 29. So this is a video where talks about windy days. The umpires are taking off the bails. So the umpires removed the bails and they're playing without bails in this game. So play continue without bails in this situation. So in this situation, if the to get like whether the wicket is down or not, the ball just has to touch the wickets, because there are no bails. Because mostly if there are bails, ball touches the wicket. Sometimes bails stay on the wicket, doesn't fall. In that case, it's not out. But when there are no bails, even the ball touching the wicket constitute that the wicket is down, and the batsman could be out bowled, or whichever way. So the next would be reflective questions for Law 8. Who decides if the bail should be dispensed with when they are continually falling off during the play? Fairly should be straightforward. Volunteer, please. Rajesh.
It's obvious the
The fielding
umpire.
captain. Umpires. All right. Good to know it's obvious. Thank you. Okay, what is the width of the wicket and the height of the top of the stumps above the ground in an adult match? So, width of the wicket and the height of the wicket we talked about. Anybody? Sajid?
You can say.
A 9 inches and 28 inches. So 9 inches width, 28 inches from the ground, right? So submit. That's the correct answer. We go to next law. Law 9 is preparation and maintenance of the playing area. So, okay, let's go rolling. Okay, so rolling. So a pitch shall not be rolled during the match except as permitted in these two scenarios. During the match, the pitch may be rolled at the request of the captain of the batting side, and the duration for rolling is not more than 7 minutes. So, if the innings in a test match and an innings end, and before the next innings resume, there is a 10-minute innings interval. So the batsman, the captain from the batting team can request rolling, and the rolling should start, and it shall be no more than 7 minutes. Uh, and this can be also requested before the start of each subsequent day's play. Rolling after a delayed start. In addition to rolling permitted above, if after the toss and before the first innings of the match the start is delayed, captain may request. So in case of rescheduled play, right, like or a delayed start, the captain may still request rolling just before the game starts for a period of no more than 7 minutes. However, if the umpire together agree that the delay has no significant effect on the pitch, they shall refuse such a request. So sometimes, like if there is only a 30-minute delay, and the captain requests rolling one more time, in 30 minutes the pitch wouldn't have changed, so umpire can refuse that request. But yeah, choice of rollers. So there are heavy rollers, medium rollers, some handheld rollers as well. If there is more than one roller, the captain of the batting side shall choose whichever one to be used. And we know they can only be permitted for maximum 7 minutes. And the rolling permitted before play begins on any day shall be started not more than 30 minutes before the time for play to begin. So if the game starts at 10 o'clock, uh, at 9:30 you can request rolling. You can request anytime after 9:30. You cannot request rolling before 9:30. So before the play begins, the captain of the batting side may however delay the start of rolling and not until not less than 10 minutes before the scheduled play begin. Yeah, so they can there is a 20-minute window where they can actually ask rolling from 9:30 to 9:50 if the game starts at 10 o'clock. Cleaning debris from the pitch. So most of the time when the bowlers are landing, there is a lot of loose soil on the pitch. How do we clean it? The law has some provisions for that as well. The pitch shall be cleaned of any debris before the start of each day's play. This shall be after the completion of mowing and before any rolling. So rolling, we know it can happen 30 minutes, right? After 30 before 30 minutes of the start of the day. But this can be the pitch debris cleaning cannot be not earlier than 30 minutes nor later than 10 minutes. So it has to be done within that 20-minute window period. So and the debris can also be cleared between innings, before any rollings and at any intervals or meals. But this cleaning has to be done under the umpire supervision, because usually in test matches the fourth umpire has duties like these. During intervals they will come out and clean, get like because anything related to the pitch has to be done under the supervision with the umpires. The cleaning of the debris can be done either by sweeping. Sometimes if the sweep things can cause damage to the pitch, those in that situation the debris should be cleaned by hand without sweeping. So and debris may also be cleaned from the pitch by hand without sweeping, as and when required by the umpires as necessary. Mowing of the grounds and the pitch can be done and should be the sole responsibility of the ground authority, and all mowings shall be carried out under the supervision of the umpires. And there are some timings for the mowing as well. And mowing usually is done to keep like the ground conditions to be consistent across all 5 days of the game. Usually it's done on 5-day games, test matches. Timing of mowing is also mowing of the pitch on any day shall be completed not later than 30 minutes. So if the game starts at 10 o'clock, mowing can be done not later than 15 minutes before the. So it shall be completed not later than 30 minutes before the time. So before 9:30 if the start of the day's play is at 10 o'clock. Watering the pitch. Ideally, pitch should not be watered during the match because there's a game happening. Water would ruin the pitch, so no watering needs to be done. Remarking of crease can be done whenever the umpire considers as necessary because the bowlers are consistently landing on the popping crease. Sometimes the paint is worn out, so the markings can be done whenever the umpire feel it's necessary. Footholds, as I said, the bowler's feet landing can cause a small hole in the ground or like a divot, so that can be filled with like quick settings like sand or like some sawdust. uh, Securing footholds and maintenance of pitch. uh, Umpire shall allow players to secure their footholds by using sawdust, as I said, and provided that adding the sawdust is not changing the condition of the pitch, because that would probably come under unfair play, and we'll talk about that when we go through Law 41. Non-turf pitches, I think we'll probably skip this because there are some other things we'll give you examples on those. Um, so these are just the modules groundsmen have before the toss and all of that, and all maintenance have to be done under umpire supervision. This is how like a roller looks like. Maximum of 7 minutes of rolling is allowed or can be requested by the captains. These are some of the maintenance things that they are doing. You can see the umpire is standing right here under his supervision. Um, we can do the question. What is the maximum time allowed for rolling of the pitch between innings and at the start of each day's play, other than the first day? Any takers? It's a very difficult question. So, Sajid,
7 minutes.
7 minutes. There you go. Correct answer. The rolling of pitch, as we all know, we have learned that maximum of 7 minutes and at the request of the batting captain. No more than 7 minutes maximum. Mowing needs to be completed 30 minutes before the start of the day's play. Mowing of outfield is also done to give consistent conditions throughout the match. Pitch must not be watered at any stage. We have already established that. Let's go. Okay, so creases are usually marked by groundsman at all intervals, but umpire can also ask for extra markings as needed. In multi-day matches, we already covered this. When pitch is wet, umpire can use sawdust uh, uh, to level the field and to help the bowler secure his foothold around the creases. But as I said, such material should be used so that it not cause any damage to the pitch. So, okay, reflective question. When should the creases be remarked? At the end of every session, at the end of every day, or whenever either umpire considered necessary? Who hasn't answered? Manish, Ashok, yes, Ashok.
C. Question answer C.
Okay, C, whenever either umpire consider is necessary, submit it. We go to the next. When may the pitch be watered during the match? Excuse me. Between each day, at every interval, at no point during a match. Anyone? Always?
C, not anytime during the match.
Uh, at no point during a match. Okay. Submit it. We go to the next. What is the maximum time allowed for rolling the pitch on any occasion? Anyone?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Just a second, guys. Okay. Uh, Another thing, gentlemen, all these laws that we are discussing, these are MCC laws, right? So the playing conditions are separate than MCC laws. So when you learn these, when you go stand in certain games, there might be some playing conditions which might be little different than the laws that we are discussing. But in that situation, the playing conditions supersedes the laws. And whenever things that are not covered in playing conditions, then you can go back to the MCC laws in those situations. So just be mindful of everything that we are covering here today is all MCC laws. So law number 9 is complete. Law 10, covering the pitch. Covering the pitch. Okay, we'll decide. Oh, this is a fairly small law as well. We'll just go through the law and then we'll talk about it. The use of covers before the match is the responsibility of the ground authority and may include full covering if required. However, the ground authority shall grant suitable facility to inspect the players. I think this is all verbatim. During the match. Okay, so what needs to be covered? So this law tells us that before the toss on each night of the match and before the toss on each night of the match and in inclement weather at any time during a match, the minimum the minimum things that needs to be covered should be the whole pitch, and a minimum of 4 feet beyond it at each end shall be covered. So 22 yards is covered plus another 4 feet behind on each side needs to be covered. That is bare minimum. And the bowler's run up wherever possible shall also be covered, because so these are the minimum covering of the pitch that needs to be done in like a game that is ongoing. And removal of the covers. If after the toss the pitch is covered overnight, the covers can be removed as soon as practicable on each day. So that's fairly straightforward. But yeah, so sometimes I've seen like grounds, like sometimes in Sri Lanka, they even cover the whole ground. So that is okay. That is actually great. But the bare minimum is what we need to remember is minimum of 4 feet and the whole pitch and the bowler run-ups if possible. So this is what like a rainy day looks like in a field of on a field of cricket. The ground, the playing area is covered, the bowlers run-ups are covered, and all the side pitches are also covered because these might be used in sometime later. So there are multiple wickets here. So, and then the ground is fairly good, has good retention of water logging. So they probably don't need to cover these, but some grounds in Sri Lanka I've seen they cover the whole ground as well, because they don't have like those technology to remove the water if rain pours like heavy. So covers should be removed promptly as the law mentioned. Reflective question, fairly short law. So under the laws of cricket, if no agreement is reached regarding covering before the toss, what is the minimum requirement for covering the pitch during the match? Covering the whole pitch, the ends of the pitch only, or the whole pitch, minimum of 4 feet beyond the pitch, and bowlers run up if possible. Any takers for this?
C.
I see. Hossein, somebody said C. Okay, thank you. Submit. That's the correct answer. How far beyond the pitch at each end it is required for a pitch to be covered in inclement weather? Sajid?
4 feet.
4 feet is the answer. Yeah, that's the correct answer. Okay, it's a fairly short law, so we move on to law 11. Okay, so this is an interesting law. Law 11 intervals. I think I'm kind of a little bit behind, but I'm trying to get through this law. But I don't want to rush through this one because it's an important one. Intervals. So, so what constitutes as an interval, right? So there are 5 intervals in a, and this is also we are talking about a multi-day game, like a test match, right? So because these laws are all covering test matches, not one-day conditions or T20. So what are classed as intervals? The period between close of play on day one and the start of the next day's play. So if the game finishes at 5 o'clock and starts the next day at 10 o'clock, so after 5 o'clock, when the game is finished and before the start, that is also considered as an interval. The interval between innings is also deemed as an interval. Interval for meals is also an interval, like tea and lunch. Interval for drinks, and any other agreed interval. There could be other agreed interval between the players as well. That would be a part of the playing condition. But yes, any other agreed interval in case if there are if the captains wants if the captains and the umpires agree. Uh, Only these intervals shall be considered as scheduled breaks for the purposes of this law. Any other is unscheduled break. So any kind of rain that happens, that would be like an interruption. We'll cover that later. Duration of interval, right? So an interval for lunch or tea shall be of duration determined under law 2.13. Usually these are determined by the governing body, and usually in test match crickets, lunch and tea, lunch is usually 40 minutes, tea is usually 20 minutes. uh, so those are already established. Interval between innings is usually 10 minutes in test matches. So commencing from the close of an innings until the call of play. So if a match finishes, if one innings finishes in a test match, innings number one, then there would be a 10-minute innings interval where the other team will come out to bat, and then the call of between the commence end of the between the close of innings and until the call of play of the start of the next innings, 10 minutes is what the law suggests us. Allowances for interval between innings. So sometimes if an innings end when, so there are like certain allowances for intervals as well. This is usually done to maximize play as much as possible. So if an innings end when 10 minutes or less remains before the time agreed for close of play on any day, there shall be no further play on that day. So, for example, if the in a test match which ends at 5 o'clock and an innings end at 4:55, then only 5 minutes is remaining. So an innings change requires 10 minutes. So we won't be able to get that innings change interval. So play will be, there would be no play. That would be end of day's play. Even if we are finishing 5 minutes early, that's fine. But we cannot do that 10-minute interval for that time frame. So no chance if that day finishes early, 5 minutes early, no, but the next day we won't start 5 minutes early. No change shall be made to the time from the start of play on the following day account of the 10 minutes interval between innings, because the innings interval will probably happen before the game. If a captain declares an innings closed during an interruption, if a captain declares an innings closed during an interruption in play of more than 10 minutes duration, provided that at least 10 minutes remains at the interruption, no adjustment shall be made to the time for resumption of play. So here, some at times, captain can also declares their innings, right? And especially when there is an interruption in progress during an interruption in play for more than 10 minutes duration. So no adjustment shall be made for the to the time of resumption of play, and it should be included within interruption. So, for example, if a captain declares like an innings and there is a lunch interval happening, right? So lunch intervals usually is like 40 minutes. And within those 40 minutes, if the captain comes and says that we want to declare an innings, then that 10 minutes innings interval will be incorporated within the lunch interval itself, and then there wouldn't be a separate 10 minutes interval. This is just to maximize play. So the game will still start at 40 minutes, but now we have incorporated the 10-minute innings interval within the lunch break. If less than 10 minutes remain at the interruption when the captain declares then the innings closed, right? Or forfeit the innings, the next inning shall commence. So, for example, if lunch is scheduled at 12 o'clock and at 11:50, the captain wants to declare, but we don't have 11:51, the captain wants to declare, then the lunch will be taken and next inning shall come. We will take that 10-minute because after the declaration or forfeiture. If a captain declares an innings closed during any interval other than an interval for drinks, provided that at least 10 minutes remain of the interval shall be of agreed duration and shall be considered to include the 10-minute interval between innings. If less than 10 minutes remains of the interval when the captain declares the inning closed or forfeits an innings, the interval shall be extended as necessary, and the next inning shall commence 10 minutes after the declaration is made. So, and changing of intervals was also, I think, based on 1 second. If any, do we need to cover this? Okay, changing. So sometimes like these intervals can also be changed based on ground weather light or whether rain or any playing time is lost due to these circumstances. And in any certain situations where the players have occasions to leave the field other than at scheduled interval. So the time of lunch and tea interval may be changed if the two umpires and captains agree, and we will talk about those for lunch here. So changing agreed time for lunch interval. So here, this is actually very important. Just be bear with me. I'll take my sweet time to go through this. If an innings ends within 10 minutes or less remains between the agreed time for lunch, the interval shall be taken immediately, and it shall be of the agreed duration and shall be considered include. So if an innings end within 10 minutes, so for example, lunch is scheduled at 12 o'clock and then the innings end at 11:54, right? So now you have only 6 minutes to lunch. So in that situation, just to maximize, because we have an innings interval of 10 minutes, that cannot happen, but because we have less than 10 minutes, so lunch will be taken immediately in that case. And the lunch would be from 11:54 to 40 minutes from that, and the 10-minute innings interval will be incorporated within the lunch break. If because of adverse conditions of ground weather, so for lunch only remember that it should be within 10 minutes, and for tea we will discuss when we get there. So next would be in adverse condition or in exceptional circumstances, if there is a stoppage that occurs within 10 minutes or less before the agreed time for lunch. So again, within 10 minutes, if there is an interruption happens because of like a rain interruption or something, then whether the interval shall be taken. So you can take lunch immediately as well in that situation, because we want to maximize play as much as possible. And play can resume at the end of this interval or as soon as the conditions permit, because if it is raining, it might not clear up at the end of the interval, but as soon as condition permit, the game should resume. If the player have occasion to leave field when more than 10 minutes remain before the agreed time for lunch, then lunch shall be taken at the agreed time. So, for example, if for any reason the players have to leave the field when there are more than 10 minutes to lunch. So, for example, if lunch is scheduled at 12 o'clock and at 11:45 the players have to leave the field for some reasons, right? Then umpires have to talk to the captains, and if they agree, otherwise lunch will be taken from 12 to 12:40, and that 15 minutes would still be lost because the captains did not agree. But if they agree, then you can take the lunch at 11:45 and 40 minutes from there. So umpires and captains have to work here in order to maximize play. But sometimes players may not agree. That's okay as well. They have the right to do that. Changing agreed time for tea interval. So for lunch, since we had the 10-minute window where sometimes lunch can be taken immediately or not, for tea, the timing is 30 minutes or less. So tea is usually scheduled for 20 minutes in test matches. So if an innings ends when 30 minutes or less remains before the agreed time for tea, the interval shall be taken immediately. So for example, tea is at 2 o'clock, and at 1:30 or after 1:30, if there is an innings end, then you can take tea immediately, incorporate the 10 minutes in innings interval within the tea break, and then come back from that time after 20 minutes, and play can resume. That way you can maximize and use that 10-minute interval include in between the innings. If when 30 minutes remain before the agreed time, so what if there is more than 30 minutes when an innings change? So if when 30 minutes or more remains before the agreed time, between an interval between innings is already in progress, play shall resume at the end of the 10-minute interval. So if more than 30 minutes is remaining and an innings end, then we cannot take tea early. So we will go and have the 10 minutes inning interval and then come back and play until tea. So the 30 minutes is like an important information for this bit of law, for especially for tea, and 10 minutes for lunch. For any adverse conditions like ground weather, light, any kind of interruption that happen, a stoppage occurs when 30 minutes or less remains, then interval shall be taken. Just like to maximize, as I talked about in lunch, when more than when 30 minutes or less remains from a scheduled interval, the interval can be taken immediately because it's already raining and that time is already being lost. So why not take lunch tea early to maximize play as much as possible if conditions permit. If there is a stoppage already in progress when 30 minutes or 30 minutes before the agreed time, 11.4 shall apply. So in that case, like tea can be taken at that time to incorporate as much as play as possible. There isn't one exception in here, lunch or tea interval when there are 9 wickets down. So if there are 9 wickets already down and 3 minutes is remaining to the agreed time for either the lunch or tea interval. For example, okay, 1 minute, and the 9th wicket fall within this 3 minutes at any time, then the interval not be taken until the end of the over that is in progress 30 minutes after the original, unless the players so only in instances where there are 9 wickets are already down, and it has to be 9, it cannot be 8. But if there are 9 wickets already down and 3 minutes remain to the agreed interval, then that session can be extended up to 30 minutes. So for example, if lunch is scheduled at 12 o'clock and team A batting is already 9 wickets down, and at 9 and 3 minutes remain to the agreed time interval, so at around 11:57, then since 9 wickets are down, you want to give the bowling team 30 minutes to get that last wicket. So tea will be extended, or lunch will be extended. So from 11:57, we will play another 30 minutes. And if the bowling team is unable to take that last wicket within those 30 minutes, then lunch will be taken after. But 30 minutes is usually extended in that case, but only in the case of when there are 9 wickets down, and if the 9th wicket actually falls within this 30 minutes. So the wicket falls at 11:57, then they are 9 down, and you extend the play for 30 more minutes to give the opportunity for the bowling team to take that last wicket, because otherwise it would just be waste of 10 minutes uh, to go back to lunch, and because we would be losing time that way. So it doesn't make any sense. So the law has ways to account for time and maximize the play as much as possible. Interval for drinks. Um, Interval for drinks are usually kept as short as possible, and any case should not exceed more than 5 minutes. Usually for test matches, it's 4 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Um, uh, and at any time, the captain can agree to forego a drinks interval uh, uh, if a wicket falls within 5 minutes, or a batsman retire within 5 minutes. So if there is less than 5 minutes remaining and a wicket falls, drinks interval can be taken immediately as well, just like lunch or tea, within that time frame, to maximize play and not waste, because it will take some time for the new batter to come. In that moment of time, you can incorporate the tea drinks interval as well. 11.83 is if an innings ends or the players have to leave the field for any reason within 30 minutes of the drinks interval. Rearrange. Okay, yeah, this is not okay. Agreement to forego intervals. Captains may agree to forego any interval. In umpire shall be informed of that decision. So that is fairly straightforward. And if there are any kind of interval changes that have been agreed within the captains, the scorers also have to be informed in that situation. So the take home message in this law is, for lunch it's like 10 minutes or less. For tea, it's 30 minutes or less. And for drinks, it's within 5 minutes. And usually lunch is 40 minutes and tea is 20 minutes. There are some calculations that are going to come in the exams that we will cover. I will create some scenarios, questions for you guys, and I will explain them during the mock exam that we are planning to conduct. And everything will make more sense. I know this can be confusing, so take your time, read this law more in detail. If you have any questions, get back to me on email or any which way. But yeah, this is an interesting and important law. Uh, I think these modules they are pretty much the same. Lunch, tea. I think this is interruption. Okay, the law talks about maximizing the amount of play possible. That is what we need to do as umpires to maximize. If an innings is completed within 10 minutes, can be and captain declares forfeit. We covered this within the law. For lunch, remember 10 minutes. These are all conditions in which early lunch can be taken or not. For tea, it's 30 minutes before the scheduled time for tea. Tea can be taken immediately if it is within that 30-minute time window. Next one is, okay, yeah. Next one is, okay, 9 wickets down at lunch or tea. Remember, if it is the last wicket falls within 3 minutes, then you give them extra 30 minutes to bowl the last wickets. Sometimes last wicket can last more than 30 minutes. If that happens, after 30 minutes, you take lunch or tea, whichever is needed, but you give them enough time to get the last wicket. Drinks, we remember within 5 minutes. If the wicket falls, drinks can be taken immediately to save as much as time possible. Scorers must be informed. We covered that. We go to the next one. Reflective questions. I think, okay, it has been agreed that the tea interval should be of 20 minutes duration. At the start of the interval, the fielding captain requests that the interval should be lengthened to 30 minutes due to exceptional hot weather. What should the umpires tell him about the length of the interval? If the length of the interval will be agreed, cannot be altered. Interval can only be changed when agreement from the opposing captain. Tea interval is always extended if the umpire decides weather is hot. Sajid has volunteered. Sajid, go ahead.
It's a tricky question. I'm thrown away. So, but like from what I remember, what you mentioned, once the it's agreed upon, then we cannot change it. So I could be wrong, but the way I interpret the question, I think once the length is agreed, it should not be changed.
So the question is asking, usually tea is 20 minutes. The captain is complaining that due to exceptional hot weather, let's
Oh,
make it
okay, okay, okay,
30.
okay, okay.
So,
So maybe
so
it's the umpire's call then.
now you are actually correct. Once the length of the interval has been agreed,
Just
so like
confusing though. Okay.
yeah, so
On
once
my
the interval
second
has been
thought,
agreed,
yeah.
right? Because just like for inclement weather conditions, you cannot just change something. But yeah, so that is the timing that you guys have to remember. This next one is okay. This could be interesting. The lunch interval is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. At 1:29, the second wicket of the innings fall of the first ball of an over. At what time should the lunch interval now commences? So remember what we learned. So the answer is immediately at 1:30 or once the over has been completed, because the wicket fell on the first ball of the over. So, what do you think would be the answer? Any takers for this question? Vipin.
Yeah, I think it should be done immediately then.
Yeah, so 129 is within that 10-minute, right? So after 120 and between 130, if any time a wicket falls, it's within that 10-minute period. So lunch should be taken immediately. So that is that. But I would encourage you guys to read this law very, very carefully, because there are some calculations that comes in the exams, and it's a very important law. Uh, I think start of play, cessation of play. I think I'll cover this one and probably we'll call it a day. We'll cover the next four laws, which are very small. So we'll cover it in the next session. So start of play, law 12 is start of play and cessation of play. So we go to the law directly. Okay, so when does the play starts? When does the play end? Right? Start of play and cessation of play. The start of call of play. Bowlers and umpire shall call play before the first ball of the match or a resumption of play at any interval or any interruption. So whenever the game starts, when the batting team is ready, bowling team is ready, scorers are ready, umpire will make a announcement as play, and that's like official time where the game has started. And call of play should also be done after any interval or interruption. So whenever the game resumes, you have to, even after lunch break, you start the game again, you have to call play, so that everybody knows that the play has started. Similarly to play, call of time as well. The bowlers and umpire shall call time when the ball is dead or at the end of any session of play or as required by laws. So when it is um, uh, before the lunch break, like if the lunch is scheduled at 12 o'clock, sixth ball is bowled, the umpire will call over, time, and lunch, right? So time has to be called at any every and it has to be called only after the ball is dead. Removal of bails at the call of time, the bail shall be removed. So at the call of time, the bail shall be removed from the wicket. That means like the game is not happening at the moment and will be back after the break or lunch break or tea interval, but bail should be removed. Starting another over shall be always be started at any time during the match, unless an interval is to be taken if the umpire walking at normal pace has arrived at the position behind the stumps. So, for example, if lunch is scheduled at 12 o'clock and at 11:58 an over finishes, and it takes umpires to walk to their position from square leg to the striker's end, right? If the umpire gets to his position before 12 o'clock hits, right, another over can still be started. Even if that over goes beyond 12 o'clock, When that over is finished, lunch will be taken after, and it would be still 40 minutes from that time, not from 12 o'clock to 12:40. So another over can, because this is like to maximize play as much as possible. If by the time umpire reaches his position, it's already 12 o'clock, umpire will call time, overtime, time, and lunch. So those kind of things you need to be aware of. Completion of an over, other than the end of the match, if the agreed time interval reached during an over shall be completed before the interval is taken. As I mentioned, before the lunch is taken or tea is taken. Uh, if it is within or when less than 3 minutes remains. So if a batsman is dismissed or it retires or players have to leave the field for some reason within 3 minutes of the agreed time interval, in this case, another over cannot start because there would because the wicket has fallen. So the interval will be and then the interval will be taken immediately. And if there is any over that is part pending remaining, it would be completed after um, uh, on the resumption of play. So, but yeah, 3 minutes is something that needs to be remembered, that only, and this is only to be followed when a wicket falls or a batsman retires and a new batsman is going to come, right? So that would take some time. So you cannot complete that over. So you take that interval immediately and complete the over after you come back. Last hour of the match, I'm not going to cover this right now because mostly for level 1 exams, last hour of calculations, and it's a very tricky concept. So but once you learn it, it's easy. So we will for level 1 it's not needed. For level 2 and umpires like who are writing the exam, we will have like the law 41 42 session. So we will include last hour, and there are certain calculations based on time and amount of time remaining and what happens within the last hour of play. So we will cover that later when we cover those sessions. So I think okay, one more thing I wanted to okay, conclusion of match. When does a game conclude, right? As soon as a result is achieved, as soon as both minimum number of overs of the or the last for the last hour are completed or agreed, or okay. So sometimes there are like matches which are of overs and of time. So whenever those overs are completed, match is completed. Whenever time matches are there, when the time is finished, the match is concluded as well. And and in case of any agreement, as soon as the final innings is completed as well. um, um, Match is concluded if without a conclusion having been reached, the players have to leave the field for adverse. So this is mostly like test match they are talking about, like if there is a ground weather light conditions like rain or bad light stopped play, and further play could not be possible, and if the closing time is already passed, then there could be no play possible, and then the match is concluded in a draw as well. So those kind of situations, the match is also concluded. Completion of last over of match. Uh, the over in progress at the close of play on the final day shall be completed unless a result has been reached or the players have been occasioned. I think this is fairly touching on the same point that we covered before. Bowler unable to complete an over during last hour. Last hour we are not covering, so we will cover it when it's needed. So I think I would go through this module if there is something interesting that I want to share. So call of play, call of time, we know bails have to be removed after the call of time. Uh, if there are fewer than 3 minutes remaining, wicket falls or something, then that over can be resumed after, and that interval can be taken immediately. The last hour, there are some questions, calculations as well, which we will do it in separate workshops for level 2 aspirants. Conclusion of match, we already discussed. Okay, so we'll do this reflective questions and we'll, okay. At which of these moments did the umpire not call play? at the start of the match, on resumption of play, when a new batsman arrive at the crease. Umpire not call play. Which situations? Anybody? Sajid?
I think it should be when the batsman arrives
Okay,
at the
when a new,
crease.
yeah, this is where we don't call play. We call play at the start of the game and or resumption of play at any interruption, but not when the batsman arrives. So that's a correct answer. Uh, okay, last hour. The only thing you need to remember is last hour the minimum number of overs is 20. It is minimum. Maximum you can bowl as much as you can, but 20 is the minimum. So this question I'm going to just okay. So we are done with the laws 12. I think we will do laws 13 to 16. Shouldn't take more than 15 minutes, but I don't want to do it now because it's already past time. So I will open the floor for people to ask questions in some for on things that we covered today. And if there are any questions, if not, then yes, Harsh.
Yeah, hi. So I had a question actually not regarding the laws we discussed today,
Mhm.
uh, but this actually happened during one of the match that I was playing. Uh,
Harsh, let me actually cut you right there. I will talk to you in person about that. We'll discuss
okay.
that later. Let's keep the floor open for all the laws that we discussed today, law
Okay.
1 to 12. So I will call
Well,
you later.
okay. Regarding that law three, can you just do a quick recap, like law three?
What law 3? Law 3 scorers.
Okay. No, I
Do you
think
have a question?
not question, but okay. Maybe I just maybe I'm confusing with level three or law three. Sorry.
That's okay. If you have a question, we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Otherwise, if not, like
No,
Rana
no.
has a question.
Thank you.
Hi, Rahul. My beef is regarding the spirit of the game. Now, if
Okay.
talking about being man-cadet or being obstructing the field. Uh, I think we should follow the laws because I think when we talk about spirit of the game, that's in the bygone era, right? There are specific laws now. Why should the batsman take an advantage? I'm talking about in the case of man cadet, starting off runoff or obstructing the field. But sorry, let me come back to the video we saw about the batsman and the bowler colliding.
Mhm.
I think if the fielding side had appealed, in all probability, the umpire would not have given them out because it was an accident. Nobody intentionally obstructed anybody, right? The batsman was running straight. He had not changed sides. The bowler was going for the ball. So,
Yes. So
uh,
Rana, like in that situation, that see, this thing is the spirit of the game is much more beyond the realms of the game of cricket, right? So in that situation, even if the obstruction it was accidental, yes, but a fielding team, some fielding teams will appeal in that situation, and it would be absolutely correct in for the umpires to give them out because there are no reasons where whether obstruction or accidents obstructions which are accidental especially. So in that case and especially with munkading also, I think munkading is a very vague term. I don't like that term at all. I think and that there is a big debate between spirit of cricket, but I think that is now covered within Law 41. And now, if the bowler, if the batsman is taking advantage of leaving his crease early, then he is liable to be out, and it is included within the laws now. So that there is no munkading anymore. It's just like a bowler can run the batter out until the ball is released. So we'll discuss those in Law 41. But yeah, spirit of the game. That's a good video that the wicket keeper refrained from running the batter out, and
one,
they can do that.
okay, Rahul, one more question about the dead ball. Does the ball have to rest in the wicketkeeper's hand before the ball is dead when the batsman has either played the stroke or not? Or if, in the opinion of the umpire, the batsman and the fielding side are also considering the ball to be dead, they're not taking a run or they're not trying to run out anybody, the umpire can declare a dead ball, right?
So Rana, yes, we'll cover dead ball when we get there because there are 18 ways in laws that the ball can be dead, and what constitute umpires' interpretation or what players are thinking. All of that we will cover when we cover Law 20. So
All right, perfect.
we'll do that. So
Yeah,
all right,
thank you.
thank you for the question, Aves. Aves,
Yes,
you had a
Rahul,
question?
I have a question. For example, it's a windy day and the umpire removes the bail, and after like 2 hours, the conditions are fine. Are they going to put the bails back? Is it going to be like a unfair, with the other team who gonna bat after because they play a whole inning without bails and they get the advantage of, those nipping the, bails getting out, or they're gonna keep the whole match, doesn't matter, it's gonna be without the bails.
Uh, so yes, I am not going to say like whether it would be fair or unfair, but if wind is something that is like an external factor, when it is blowing, then you even if you play without bails for 2 hours or for the whole day, it doesn't matter. It's up to the umpires to make that discretion because umpires once they remove the bails they can put the bails irrespective of what the teams think because we are there only to conduct the game, right? And
So it
if
means
and
the
there are
umpire has the right. Umpire has the
yeah
right. So
the
if they
umpires
feel
have
everything is okay,
right
they can put it back.
so the fielders the captains might not agree, but the umpires have the sole responsibility of that. They can remove the bails as and when needed when conditions are very windy, and they can when the conditions improve they will put the bails back on, and anything that has happened during that game during that period is not umpires won't even take that into consideration
Got it.
when that happens. So
Perfect.
yes, okay. And Hassan has question.
Yeah, there's two actually small questions about the
Yes.
umpire. I think that's regarding the conditions. Uh, you explaining about both should agree to stop the game. Both. I mean, if one is walk off the ground, which I don't understand clearly. I mean,
Yeah, so what I meant with so basically the saying is it takes one to come off the ground, but it takes two to go back in, right? So if there is a dangerous, unreasonable situation where both umpires have one umpire have wants to leave, but the other umpire doesn't. So in that case, play would be suspended immediately because one umpire has to disagree and come off of the field. But while going back, whether the conditions have improved or not, both umpires have to decide that. If both umpires agree that the conditions have become better, then they will go in. So,
for the better. Sorry to interrupt, sir. So for the better, when you say that it's improved, then I think the both make the decision. But for the leaving, like what I understand, for the leaving the ground, just one can make the decision. But going back, should both agree. Is that right? Is that I
yes,
understand?
yes,
Okay,
that is what I
because
was
in the
getting at.
yeah, because in the local games, I mean the teams should take the different way. The guy, I mean, the second umpire, he think we can continue play. The one umpire, because it might be they don't know the law, maybe they don't understand the law, so that's just maybe a little bit frustration that time for the umpires if we taking that law.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Anyway,
Mr.
Hassan,
Roach has his hand up. Mr. Roach, you want to provide some more clarifications on this?
Yes, one thing we must emphasize that as umpires, when you go onto the field, you go onto the field as a team. In cricket, it is determined that it's not two teams playing. It's always
that
three teams: a batting, a bowling, and umpire. So,
okay.
as an umpire, you must agree with each other. So, if one umpire say it is not suitable, the other one would be in agreement. So, as Rahul explained, one can decide that it's not fit for play, but you both have to agree that it's not safe to play. So it's not a logical that one umpire can lead the field and then other have to follow. You it
That's right.
is it is it is it is most um it must be emphasized clearly that you must go onto the field as a team. You
I
must
got it.
work together as a team, not one
Exactly.
saying one thing and the other saying another thing.
I understand, but I make sure I understand clearly in the first place. But the the teams here, they should be understand that, because we have to explain them. The team who playing like a local cricket, they should understand this very clearly. The umpire should be, I mean, the deputy of the game. And the second very small question, quickly, because we are out of time. The finger above your head that you mentioned. So is that
Mhm.
necessary? We have to do that, or that's just the law to?
So ideally, like when I was learning the laws, one of my umpire tutors told me that an umpires have to make a lot of decisions on the field, but some umpires make like the decision right in front of them. They don't raise the finger above their head.
No.
When you raise the finger above the head, it's just not like just for the people who are in within the field of play, the players, but also anybody who is just watching the game. It's just like a marked it has like some significance that like a batsman is being dismissed, so it has to be always done above the head, so that everybody who is watching the game understands that the batsman is being dismissed, that it's a dismissal. And if you keep it like in front of your face, some people behind you might not be able to see. When you put it above your head, everybody is able to see. So that is one of the learnings that I learned when I was going through these laws when I started.
Appreciate, sir. Thank you. I guess very clear for me. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else?
Rahul, I have a question.
Yes, always.
When we were discussing about the revoking the decision, the umpire has, umpire they can discuss and they can revoke. For
Yes.
example, sometimes it's very windy and the wind is blowing from bowling end towards the batting end, and the
Hmm.
batsman he has a nick, very very light. You can hear it, but the main umpire who is at the bowling end, he didn't hear it, and but the umpire on the on the leg side, he heard that there is a nick with the bat, and the main umpire he gave out. Does the umpire on the batting side, he can just ask the umpire that I heard it and there is a nick, so you have to revoke your decision, or he just keep quiet? Because sometimes the players, they appeal, and when the umpire gave out, the batter he look at the leg umpire, I didn't do it, and he just you know. So does it possible that umpire can discuss after, or he just when he give out, that's it?
No,
Right?
so one thing always, this is actually important question, but this is most like about match management. So umpires should see the game, and they should determine wherever their decision making is needed, right? So they should see the game and call the game as they see it, right? So if the umpire doesn't listen to a sound, we don't have the luxury of technology. So if you don't hear something, you cannot give that out. So the benefit goes to the batsman, and the same happens with both teams. So because we are just humans, right? So we will probably miss like some things that are happening on the field of play, but those kind of scenarios, there are other match management skills and communication with your partner. There are ways to handle these scenarios. We will talk about this in the in-person session
So it's like
when
it's
we
better, the
reschedule.
umpire should discuss, right? Even if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have a doubt.
There is a way to consult with each other as well. If other umpire has more information than you, but uh, provided that you haven't given your decision yet, you can always consult before the decision is made. But once a decision is made, then if you consult and change it, it becomes little difficult to sell that
Yeah, it's a
decision.
controversial. Yeah, it will
So,
become more.
there are ways, but we will talk about that in like the following sessions. Okay, Rana, you have a question? Mr. Roj, do you have anything to add?
Uh, when I was listening to the question about a batter nicking the ball and the main umpire, the bowlers and umpire not give a decision. I will recommend that you, for something of that nature, a nick or caught behind, the only reason you consult your partner at the strikers end is to find out if the wicketkeeper gathers the ball. If the leg umpire is behind the batter, he will not be in a proper position to say whether he hears a nick or not. He is not really in a position to guide you, to help you to make that decision. So if you did not hear it and you don't think it's out, you just stand with your decision of not out. You don't consult, as Rahul mentioned, don't consult your partner to make that decision. It will bring the game into disrepute. So stand by your decision
That's
if you
more
don't hear
clear.
it.
Thanks,
As
Simon. That's more
Rahul
clear.
mentioned, there are soft ways umpires communicate sometimes to help to make decisions that players don't recognize. So as players, as umpires, if you work as a team and you work as a team, one of the most important thing in umpiring is eye contact with your partner as often as you can. So when you're making eye contact and communicating with your partner, there are signals and gestures you can make as umpires to help to make a decision easier for you. But this is not something that you reveal, publicly. So it's good that when you're working with another umpire, that you work, as I said, the important thing is work as a team, and eye contact with your partner as often as you can is very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. That's more appropriate. Thanks.
Okay, and everyone whoever don't have any questions, they are free to leave anytime. I'm going to stay here for a few more minutes in case if people have questions. So, uh, Ashok has a question.
Thank you, Rahul. Sorry for a good session. Just coming down to discrepancy in scoring. Typically we're doing electronic scoring. We have a board that is displayed, and we're also doing manual scoring. So what takes precedence if there is discrepancy in any three of them?
So as when we were talking about scorers and the responsibility and umpires and their responsibilities during the intervals when we go and check the scorers, since umpires are not keeping a track of scores,
Mhm.
I would except the drinks break. I probably do this all the time. That when the innings end, you go and talk to the scorers about what the scores are. Just check if everything, because if there are instances of penalty runs or something, you go and double check if the scorers have counted those or not, and if there are any discrepancies. If everything looks good to you, that would be just good match management, that you are on top of things before they even get difficult, right? So you are already in that prevention mode. And if there is a scoring discrepancy where whether where the result is being affected, right?
Mhm.
So for example, like the game concluded, but it wasn't correct. So until the proper, if there is still more time left, or until the end of play, then the umpires can go back again and complete the game if there are some runs are being required to be scored, if they were incorrectly calculated or made like a mistake by the scorers. There is a provision to go back onto the field and play, complete that game accordingly, but there are ways to do that. And if the games have already, if the time is already passed, like the scheduled end of play day's play, then I think the score would be adjusted appropriately and the result would be achieved, because you cannot go back and correct that thing because it's already been timed. So
Rahul, so that means which score should be authentic? The one which is doing manually on the paper, or the one which are we doing online? Because sometimes we have a glitch online, So
no,
there are
so
mistakes.
so there is nothing authentic about like there is nothing not authentic about scorers on the app who are doing it. We usually do app and manually, because if there is a glitch in the app, you don't lose track of the score, so you still have like another set of scoring methods. So but both of them are keeping track of scores. Now it's the scorer's responsibility to do that job very, very honestly. If they do, then yes, you can trust that score, and umpires can make sure at every interval to go and check it if everything is looking good. And if them if, like and so yes, so there is nothing like no, both scorers are authentic in their own rights. It's just like they are doing different jobs because of different reasons, but they're still keeping track of the scores. Mr. Roach, yes.
Rahul, just to answer, go back to what Ashok has questioned. I think in the bylaws, I know in Cricket Quebec, we will determine before the start of the game or before the start of the season which of the scoring method is deemed as official, whether it's the book or the electronic. We have to, maybe before the match or before the season, as part of your bylaws or playing condition, that you will determine which of the scoring method is legitimate. So that is what we determine before you play. You don't wait until something in the game to determine what you think is the right score. So if we come up with what is the correct accepted result, then it's easier to move on from there.
I was just on that. So normally, in when you're playing the games, do you give preference to like, let's say you were doing the umpiring, would you give preference to the book or the electronic? Is that something that you guys decide before the
Yes, we
game?
have to. I think it's recommended that you decide, just as you decide as earlier which clock method you use for timing. You should determine what is the official method of scoring, whether it's a book or it's the electronic scoring. That should be determined before we start, which is what will we accept then? Is it the book or what is in electronic? Nowadays, most people are going for the electronic.
Okay, thank you.
Harsh, you have your hand raised. Harsh Patel, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. I think that Harsh just has his hand raised. He's probably not around. So, Mr. Roach, anything else? We could only cover 12, but we'll try to do the last. I expected 16, but we could only finish 12, but we'll do that next week.
I think we did it was a very good session. We just have to continue next week. Hopefully, we can go through some of the easier laws much quicker and
Yeah.
try to cover all the laws. I know it's going to take a lot more time to cover laws 41 and 42 for our members. And
Yeah.
just to reiterate that this is an our session. When we go to Cricket Canada, please take your notes and read on your own to ask questions during Cricket Canada's sessions.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rahul.
Yes, Harsh.
Yeah, my button, that unmute button wasn't working. But yeah. So my question was regarding mancading. Can I ask that?
Harsh, all of that we will cover later when it is the right time, because
Okay.
when we go through those laws, that would make more sense. So hold on to your question. We are not we will take that question like whenever you are when we get to that law.
I just wanted to clear a doubt, like if it is possible.
Yeah, you can call me anytime after this call. Like we will talk on the phone. But
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
Sajid, you have your hand up.
Yes, Rahul, it's not a question. I just wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of MCA to thank you for a fantastic training session. Thanks to Mr. Roach and all of Cricket Quebec, everyone who's involved in inviting us and giving us this opportunity to be able to become a part of this session. So a big thank you. to all of Cricket Quebec, and especially to you, Rahul, for holding this session. It's much, much, much appreciated.
Thank you, Sajid.
Thank you, Sajid.
We hope to see you again for the next sessions. And I'm really sorry because, like, usually these sessions we take our own sweet time and go through points by point. We had to breeze away because we just don't have enough time, and we want to get you guys prepped for the exams that are upcoming. So, but we'll try to incorporate like the easier laws. We'll probably try to finish quicker, but where time needs to be spent, we'll spend like those times for those laws, because there are some tricky ones and which needs like more time and more explanation. So we will try to do that, but we were so pressed on time that we're trying everything that we can, but sometimes you just have to breeze through. And but then, yeah, you have my email, so write to me anytime. I will be more than happy to respond to that, or you can call me anytime as well. So yeah, thank you for your time though today.
Rahul, Sajid, one of the things that we can continue, Rahul, some of those, questions that we shoot last year on our group. Now that we are
Yes.
incorporating with MCA, we can put those questions and suggestions for people to, what we went through, suggestions on the group so that they can keep abreast of, certain scenarios in cricket.
Yeah,
Great
I think
idea, Mr. Rose.
I'm slowly going to start because I think Mr. Roach, you added me in there as well, right? So
Yes,
I'm
you're in
going.
that group. Yes,
Yeah, so I'm going to whatever I used to post in the Montreal group. I'm
yes,
going to post them as well, and
yes.
we can discuss, and
We can
everybody
have
can.
an
Yeah,
open discussion during
right, right.
time when, if everybody can comment and what they think about those scenarios.
Yeah, yeah. I think like you guys would benefit like a lot more when we have those in-person sessions and those mock exams, because we'll take our time to explain those things that are not might not be clear right now because we are going through quickly. But yeah, I think everything will make sense before the exam, and I think you guys would be well prepared for the exam. So yeah.
Dr. Ashok Koshal has raised his hand.
Uh, yeah, Ashok, tell
Yeah,
me.
yeah, Rahul, just very quickly, just a couple of logistic questions. Do the members have to pay a fee for writing the exam?
So
Yeah, usually, may I say, usually
yeah, yeah.
for Cricket Canada, for level one, you will pay. There's going to be a link sent to everyone who is going to be interested with put their name.
Mhm.
Be sent a link, and you will pay for level one. Is going to be last year it was $20 for level one,
Okay,
$30 for level two, and $50 for level three, which you'll be given a site to do an interact payment, which will go directly to Cricket Canada. I'm not
okay.
sure if there's going to be an increase in the fee this year.
No, that's
All
okay.
these
Yeah,
logistics we have to discuss with Rohan and
no
Arnold to see
worries.
what,
No
and we will
worries.
post them as we go along.
And typically, how long is the exam?
For level one, it's going to be 1 hour. For level two, I think it's 2.5 hours, and level three, I think it's 3 hours.
Mhm.
But level one, mostly it's going to be mostly multiple choice answers. You will be given multiple choice. There's not a lot of writing; it's most answering. From
And
level two onwards is a lot of explanation, writing and explanation.
and what is the passing criteria for level one?
Level one is 70%, 70%.
70
Level two,
75.
75 for level two, and 80 for level three.
Okay. Uh, Also, the in-person like the mock-up exams and so on that you're planning for March 16 and March 23rd. Do you have an approximately idea what the duration for that would be?
It's going to be 4 hours each. The plan is for 4 hours each session
Mhm.
with Rohan. As I said, as we go closer to the confirmation of everything,
No,
confirmation venue will be posted,
no
and
problem.
the times will also be posted as to when. This is why we're having these mock sessions so that when it comes to Rohan, he's going to be probably going through the most of these laws briefly, and we say, you know, ask your questions. So as
No, I
I was
appreciate that.
emphasizing with the group, they're what Cricket Canada know based on what we are hearing and communicating with them. They're trying to ask each individual to do their own reading of the laws and then come into the laws and ask particular questions which you need more clarification of. You know,
Mhm.
they're trying to ask people to self-read and you know, do things on your own, and then makes the sessions easier for
Got it.
the presenter.
Got it. One last question.
Yes.
Rahul, would you be sharing these presentations?
I can actually send you a lot of information. Yeah, I think like send me your email,
Okay.
and I'm going to send you like certain information which you can do it all by yourself.
Okay.
And in terms of preparing for the exam, right? So this, I think I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel as well. This meeting was recorded, so I'm going to post it, so you can go back and look at things. But the website, there is an electronic version. The modules that we were actually going through, they are available online.
Mhm.
So I'm going to share them with the group, on that group.
I've
So
shared the link also in the chat.
oh, Deepak has already done that. So that's great. So everybody should go there and look at these modules, go back in case if, and come back with some questions next time for the relevant laws that we just discussed. We would be happy to answer your questions that way. But yeah, there is a lot of self preparation things available. But if you just go through these modules, I think it would be very, very interesting. So yeah.
Ashok, as far as your members are concerned, maybe you could ask your members. We could plead with Rahul maybe to have, rather than have it for 2 hours, extended for maybe 3 hours, or if it's
Yeah,
possible to help
I
him.
don't mind. I absolutely don't mind if people are here just from MCA. I will go through it one more time, like, or I can answer their questions more, and if they need more explanation, I don't mind, like, if we can extend these sessions.
So ask your members if it's possible for them to stay online so that we can possibly extend the sessions so that everybody could, you know, get acquainted.
Sure, we'll do that.
We'll
Thank
do
you.
that. We'll do that, Mr. Roach, and just Rahul and Mr. Roach. We want, like I've been emphasizing so heavily on the MCA front in regards to the discipline as well as punctuality of time. So I would really appreciate if you can cut down that window, like what we gave. Like today was the first session, obviously, so we allowed 10 minutes, but normally in these sessions the leeway is very minimal, like 2 to 3 minutes,
Yes.
and whoever is there and we get going, and it's at the loss of individuals who, and just so you guys know, it's been properly communicated on the MCA front thoroughly in terms of being punctual. So if we could reduce that window to bare minimum, whether
Mhm.
2 3 minutes, it would be much appreciated.
Yes,
No.
we're going to do that. We just, as Rahul said in the beginning, we just because some people may have got caught up with watching the India-Pakistan game that some people may have. But we are going to reduce that window less than 5 minutes. Once we said 10 o'clock, we will give maybe 2 or 3 minutes maximum to start, unless there's a glitch. But we're not going to extend that window for 10 minutes. No, we're just gonna, because it's as
Yeah.
I said, the first session, and there was a game that people may have got caught up watching and lost track of the time. But for the
And
next sessions we're going to start, we're going to be on time. If you miss it, then that's on you.
Mr. Roach, another thing is, like, I saw most of the MCA folks were here before, by the time 10 o'clock happened. It's just like our folks were not there. So I think, like, we appreciate that, Sajid. And I think going forward, since I'm recording these meetings, so I'm going to post it so people who miss it, they can still join, and it's an open meeting for everyone. So I'm not even I'm keeping the meeting link open, so otherwise I have to admit everybody one by one, which I'm not doing. So we'll start the sessions on time, finish them on time as well. And if you miss it, or somebody else misses it, they can go back to the video and review it later. So we'll do that
Just
from
so
going
you
forward.
know, Rahul, I had also taken the liberty of sharing the the website, the MCC laws, as well as other resources and tools that were available. So everyone was encouraged and motivated to be able to consult
Yeah.
this before coming. So we know that not everyone's gonna do it. However, we will continue to encourage that in terms of the resources that we have available to us prior to coming into those sessions. So just quickly, in the interest of time, I know I apologize for keeping you behind, but one thing few of the members had brought up more specifically, um, one person who's completed level 3 with Cricket Canada in the past has the
Mhm.
certificate. So is there like a timeline as to when that thing expires? Or let's say if we write the exams right now and we clear those exams and we get certified, there's like you would need to renew these exams every now and then, or what's the official verdict on it from Cricket Canada?
I think I'll let Mr. Roach answer that because Mr. Roach has completed his level 3. So, Mr. Roach, go ahead.
From level 1 to level 2, as long as you stay active and Cricket Canada is also following, you will be say this year you sit the level 1. Next year, once you do a certain number of games from level 1, you can sit level 2 for next year. What is required is a number of years between level 1 and level 3. I think you have to do a certain amount of games or high level games to be eligible to do the level 3, because I'm not sure which of the app you do your scoring on, in terms of what app did you use to do most of your
We
scoring?
use Crick clubs primarily, but we're gonna be switching to Crick heroes like you guys do. And
Just take a step back. Stay right there where you are, because there's some new. I'm just sharing this with you. I'm
already,
not sure if Ashok is still here. It's
yeah, he's
I'm
here.
here.
where I think more than likely we are going to go back to quick clubs, because Cricket Canada
Oh,
has. We just got that message in this week. I think maybe the 18th or the
okay,
19th, that Cricket Canada is going back to quick clubs.
okay.
So we are going to be switching back to quick clubs for this year. I'm just telling these guys, telling this off the bat.
Appreciate it.
So
That's good news
don't
for us.
start switching yet to go to quick clubs,
Yeah,
because
we were just in the midst of I don't know if Aves is still there, but we were
Yes,
getting a
Dr.
little,
Vance, it's a
yeah, we
relief
were
for me
getting a little
actually.
bit worried
It's
as
a
to how we're
relief
going
for
to
me
transfer the
actually.
data.
well,
So
we just had a meeting, and we stay where you are for now. Don't reveal it yet, but just stay where you are for now. We are
No,
in the
no,
process of switching back to quick clubs, because Cricket Canada is going back to quick clubs.
Crick
There's
clubs.
going to be some announcement made in the coming weeks, that it's going to be probably public, that we're going to, because the platform for quick clubs is way bigger than Quick Heroes, and Cricket Canada is going to go back to quick clubs.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
what happens is that Cricket Canada will be monitoring, if as long as you register or select the umpires for these games, they will monitor to see how many games and what level games these umpires are doing, and accordingly, accept that yes, you can sit the level 3. We will also speak with Rohan, and when Rohan comes here, you can ask him that question in person. How long will you be able to eligible to sit level 3? After do starting level 1, and he will explain more. What is the criteria to sit the level 3? But from level 1 to level 2 is straightforward. You can do level 1 this year, and next year you can. Once you keep yourself active as an umpire, you will be able to sit the level 2.
But what my question was, what for example, we have individuals who've been when Cricket Quebec and MCA was one body, and
Mhm.
I remember back then Kanti Bhai
No, I think
Patel.
I think I think that has all changed since 2018. They have revisited. If you have level 1 and you're not active, say from 2010, you will have to go back over and do the level 1. What they since 2000, I think 17, 18, they require that if you sit level 1, you keep yourself active. You don't have to go back to do level 1. People who are sitting
What would make you active? For example, let's take my
doing
example. For
doing your
example,
doing your as I said, if you're in quick clubs, they will see your name active, and we could vote for you. These are some of the explanation that we ask Rohan, because no, we are no having MCA as a affiliated member of Cricket Quebec, we will be probably emphasize to Cricket Canada that these are active umpires in order for you to do the level 1, level 2. We won't disclaim you know, as being different. But
Okay, I appreciate that. No, that clarifies a lot, Mr. Roach, and that I think that's for the discussion sake or the question that was asked to me. I'm in a very good position to be able to address that question going back to our membership. So appreciate the prompt reply.
yeah, they have completely revisited the criteria for umpire. They have think that if you're not active, say 2010 onwards, I think 2017, that you'll have to redo the exams. They are now, because we're now, you know, part of ICC as a sub member. So all these things have to be reported to ICC. It's all coming down from ICC on to Cricket Canada for some of the changes that have been made.
Understood. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. Anytime.
All right, Mr. Roach. So looks like everybody has probably stayed back for other things, but I think we'll revisit again what we are covering next week. And if possible, we could do Saturday, Sunday as well. If time permits for everyone, we can do it that way as well.
Yeah, I think we could extend Saturday, Sunday as long as people are willing to come, so that we can try to cover all the laws, so that everybody could be prepared for when Cricket Canada come for their session.
Yeah, because this way, if we do Saturday, Sunday, we have to only do like couple of hours for both days. So we cover 4 hours in 2 days, and we should be able to complete it in the next 3 weekends.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your time, and
Thank you,
we'll
Rahul.
see
Thank
you
very
next
much for
week.
the information session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Bye.
Bye.